All right, this is kind of weird to talk about. I so you guys know that when you go to work out and stuff, there's things that you have to do like check emails and stuff on top of the regular work that you're usually given, right? One thing that did happen to me as of late, I want to say, actually, it was actually last night. What am I saying? What happened last night was that I had to check my emails, and I actually got a phishing email for the first time in a very long time. It was weird. Obviously, I could tell that the email was obviously sent externally, not internally within, the workplace that I am in it. But at the same time, I was also like, this is a very poorly worded uh, email that tried to get me to click a link, right? And it was quite funny because what happened was like they were saying like, oh, this little thing happened to a quarter of a million people, and we think you're on this list. Please click this link to verify that your information is you know not a part of this. And I'm like, I keep my work stuff and my personal stuff and even like the streaming stuff, like all of that, I try to keep that very, very separate. And I specifically identify where my boundaries are when I send or you know send emails or stuff, whether regards to home or at work or anything like that. And I try to make it very clear, like, this is where work is, this is where home is, and my personal stuff is. And so I have some coworkers who try to mix in their stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that because I don't want the invasiveness of work to come in and affect my work-life balance. But anyways, going back to all that, that phishing email was so funny because it's like, oh, they hacked a bunch of social medias, including your Facebook and your LinkedIn and your Twitter. And I was like, okay, I do have Twitter, but it's not associated with my personals. Two, my Facebook's private, but then it's like, okay, if you really need information out of my Facebook, I guess. And then my LinkedIn, I was like, oh, I haven't touched that in like ages. Sure, I guess. I don't even, if they're looking for anything out of me, it's like a lot of that stuff's not very updated or appropriate for each other. So none of that information would technically make sense, you know? I ha Yeah, I don't really use a personal or like an alt Twitter or anything like that. And even though I do have a Blue Sky as well, I'm just like, that's a very separate thing from what I do, in the IRL world. But yeah, it's been a while since I had a phishing scam, and I thought it's like it can't be that crazy, right? Like, I, I say that, and I think to myself, it's like, who really falls for this kind of thing? But someone put it into perspective where it's like, imagine you send this out to like, I don't know, 100,000 people. You only need like one, maybe like two people at most to just click on the link, and then immediately things start spreading like crazy, especially within a company. And I realized that it was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people who are just not as tech savvy, or who are not just as passionate or as intuitive when it comes to using technology of that. And it boggles my mind. I'm like, oh my God, if someone really did fall for this, I'm like, that's crazy. And it will only get worse. Like, you think about like scams that were associated with like the Nigerian prince one. We always joke about that kind of stuff. But now with like the evolution of AI and stuff, and the AI tech that's around it, the deep fake stuff, anywhere between like what do you call it? Like I think the more common one I would see is like, oh, this is your grandson, I need like money. Trying to get grandparents to send money to their fake grandchildren because they got trapped in some sort of jail and need money to get out, which is crazy. Um, like it's wild to me that it happens. Actually, this actually kind of reminds me. There was this really, really funny scam that I kind of made them jump a hoop through, and they kind of just like froze up as soon as I mentioned all of it. And so I don't know if you ever guys ever wanted to use this for your thing, but if you ever get a caller saying like, "Hey, I'm calling from Microsoft Windows, and we believe that we need to get, we think that your computer is compromised for whatever reason." If you ever want to test if they are a scammer, right? And you should always be careful of that kind of shit. Is tell them that, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any Windows products. I strictly only have Apple products. I have an iPhone, a MacBook Pro, a Mac Mini, an Apple Watch. It's like I don't use any of the Windows stuff." And just like, "Well, according to us, it's like that." And then just keep pestering them, saying that I only have Apple products, and vice versa. If someone's saying like, "Oh, you have Apple products," say it's like, "I only use PC parts and all this stuff." Go in that opposite direction and see how far they will actually go to try to answer this. I have had incidences where they'll just kind of like freeze up and then hang up on me, and I'm like, that's wild. That's hilarious. It just kind of like freaks them out. So, anyways, when on the internet, please be careful. Make sure to check for phishing scams because you never know when it does happen. And always be skeptical when you're talking to anyone online and or people who are trying to ask for certain information. Okay? You know, there are verified websites where you can and use stuff. The internet is an amazing place, but it is also very, very scary at the same time. So please use caution when you're on the internet. Okay? Okay.